Hey guys, for this next section, I want to talk about a little background now. We're going to be talking about intercepts. And I should be clear about what an intercept is. An intercept occurs when the line I draw, or our graph, intersects one of the two axes. So we have two axes here. We have a y and an x. Remember, that's what our graph is made of. It's two number lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So now we're going to say, if I have a line, so I just want to draw a blue line and a red line. I just want to be clear. The blue line has an x and a y intercept. Here is the y intercept of the blue line. It occurs here because this is where the blue line intersects the y-axis. This is the x-intercept of the blue line. Okay? The x-intercept occurs where this line intersects the x-axis. If I look at the red line, here is the x-intercept of the red line. That happens because it's where the red line intersects the x-axis. And again, here would be the y-intercept of the red line. That is where our red line intersects the y-axis. So I hope it makes sense what we're looking at. Whenever you cross the y-axis, you are a y-intercept. Wherever you cross the x-axis, I apologize, that wherever you cross the x-axis, that makes you an x-intercept. So now that we know what we're looking at, I'm going to look at some things that they would have in common. So let's look at the y-axis first. And let's just look at the points. Think about what we have in common. So if I'm looking at the y-intercept, here's the first point I'm going to look at, and that's 0, 0. Now I'm just going to go up. That would be at 0, 1. Here would be 0, 2. 0, 3. No matter where I pick, so I'm going to pick some different ones. That would be 0, 3.5. Let's go down. 0, negative 1. 0, negative 2. And come all the way down here. Let's see. That'd be 0, negative 5.5. So hopefully you see something in common. Every point on the y-axis has one thing in common. The x is 0. It is a huge concept, and we just now came up with it. Every point on this line, x is 0. So we come to the conclusion at the y-intercept, x must equal 0. And that is a big idea in this. Every time you are at the y-intercept, we know x is 0. I bet you the same thing happens with the x's. Let's just double check. So now we're going to look at the x-axis. I'm going to look at different points. Well, here's 0, 0 again. So we're okay. But if I come over here, remember, you always go x then y, so I'm at 1, 0, because I went to the right, but I didn't go up and down at all. Here, we're at 2, 0. This point would be 3, 0. This point, 4, 0. I hope I'm getting annoying because I hope a pattern is starting to emerge. Here, negative 1, 0. Here, negative 2, 0. So hopefully we're noticing something. No matter where I'm at on the x-axis, y equals 0. So we have at the x-intercept, or excuse me, at the y-intercept, x is 0. We also have at the, x-intercept, y equals 0. These are the two things you have to know going into the next exam. So, again, a y-intercept is where our graph crosses the y-axis. The x is always 0 at the y-intercept. And then we flipped the concept and we said, well, at the x-intercept is where my line crosses the x-axis, and we know the y is 0. So the big two things to start off with, you need to know where they occur. Y-intercept crosses the y-axis, x-intercept crosses the x-axis, and you have to know what is 0 at those points. At the y-intercept, x is 0. At the x-intercept, y is 0. If you can remember that, the rest of this will be much, much easier. So now let's get into the next example. And that's really what this whole thing is telling you. So we just went over this, and we did it intuitively. We did it just looking at graphs. So now, here's the big thing. To graph a linear equation, ax plus by equals c, find the intercepts and draw a line that passes through the two intercepts. So now we have a way to find 2 points on our line. If it's written in standard form, it's real easy to find the intercepts, and I'm going to show you right now. So now we're just going to use this equation, 3x plus 4y equals 12. We need to find points and then graph. Now, a line, technically you only ever need 2 points. Well, we have 2 easy points to find right now, the x and the y intercept. Some people call it cover-up method, and I'm going to show you why that happens. So first, let's just find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, what do we know at the x-intercept? Yep, y has to equal 0. So if we know y equals 0, we're just going to plug it in. So we would end up with 3x plus 4y equals 12. 3x plus 4, I'm going to put 0 in because that is, we know that's the value of y at the x-intercept, equals 12. And this is something that's going to make this a lot easier. What always happens here? It multiplies to make 0. So I'd be at 3x plus 0 equals 12. But anything plus 0 is itself. So really, that part just drops out. Divide each side by 3, x equals 4. So now we know our x-intercept. It's at a point. X is 4, y is 0. I can come over here and plot that. Notice, didn't this term seem to just drop out? Some people will call that the cover-up method. In order to find one of your intercepts, you just cover up the other one. So 3x equals 12. I could do the same thing over here, but I'm just going to show all the work for it. So now I'm going to do this right over here. We would be at 3. I guess I'm going to move that around. Hopefully you guys have this all copied down by now. So now to find the y-intercept. Well, to find the y-intercept, what do I know? X must equal 0. So then I can go to my equation and be 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. Or you can think the cover-up method. We come 3 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 4y is 4y equals 12. Divide each side by 4, y equals 3. So now I have my other point. I know x was 0 and y was 3. So I'm at 0, 3. Now that I have 2 points, I can connect them and draw my line. So, if you're new to this and you're not that sure of everything, just remember, at the x-intercept, y was 0, you plugged it in, solved for x. At the y-intercept, x was 0, you plugged it in, solved for x. Or you can start thinking the cover-up method. To find the x-intercept, I cover up the y term, and then that's my equation. To find the y-intercept, you cover up the x term, and then you just solve. But there's a reason that happens. These multiply by 0 and then they go away. So there's example 2. Go ahead, work on the monitoring